Greetings! My name is Kabang and this is a full guide video on how to get around in Valheim in every single biome. You will see all the tricks from the book that I learned in an ordered fashion. Let's get into it. When watching the intro, you can look around to see what's close to the spawn. When you start your no-map run, you want to stay close to the spawn and get to know your surroundings. Fell some trees and make a base. Build roads towards the cardinal directions north, east, south and west. You can find out where north is by looking at the compass in the middle of the spawn. You can also Google a picture of a Norse compass when you forget what north is. North is where the trident with the 3 lines is positioned. You can make build pieces with an accuracy of 22.5 degrees because you have 16 snapping points. When the weather is clear, look into the sky and look at the word tree Yggdrasil. This tree is an object in the sky, and as long as you go below the same position as you are now, you will always get to the spawn. When you have a shore nearby, keep to that. It's very easy to find your way back, even when it is dark or rainy. Learn to use the calibration of build pieces to your advantage. The calibration works with boss stones as well. You click on a boss stone and then you don't press a single button. The game will change your camera angle towards the map marker. Now take your calibration build piece and see where to go. Okay, did you see that? That's how you find all the bosses. When you take a build piece and set it in a direction, then you remove the hammer from your hand and do something else, and you go back to the hammer, the build piece will still have the same direction that it had before. That's what we call a calibrated build piece. In the forest, the floor has a different texture and you cannot see roads that easily. So you need to change your approach. The key to beat the forest is light. A fire is highly visible and is cheap to build. You can make a chain of those to build a road of campfires. Protect them from rain and you even get to use them with bad weather conditions. Plus, the enemies from the forest hate fire, so you have less annoying encounters with grey dwarfs. Cut the trees around your roads to get wide open spaces. This way you can see the road even when the fire is not burning because of the rain or the fuel ran out. When cutting a clearing, you can also see the sky, which is an extra reason to make clearings around your roads. When you get to calibrate your boss stone in the crypt, you have to do the calibration inside the dungeon right after clicking on the boss stone. The dungeons are not always oriented in the same way you went in to them, but the build compass will always be the same orientation. When you look for the Elder, you can see the fire from the boss easier when it's night, as it has a fire in the middle. Same goes for the vendor. The vendor also has a fire in the middle that burns. So when you venture around and get to see a fire that is not from you, go there. You had luck and found the vendor. The vendor has about the same distance from the spawn each time. So when you played Valheim already, and I assume you did because you watched this video now, then you know about how far it should be from the spawn. Draw a mental line around the spawn and go look into the forest biomes. The vendor fire can be seen at night, but I personally think it is easier to spot the vendor when it is day, because the force field distortion of the air. That's an effect that only later in the Ashlands will be used properly, and you can spot that really easy in the forest. Look at this. The field was visible right from the Elder when I started this sequence. You can go check it out. When you need to get away from your island, you also need to find your way on the ocean. Here are the basic techniques that you will need. First, you need to know how Yggdrasil grows. When you look at this image, you can see how it would look like on a map. The roots start from the east and grow towards the west. The branches are most dominant in the center of the map, right over the spawn. The spawn is between the first and the second branch on the south side of Yggdrasil. Second, when you go along the shores, it's very easy to not get lost. Stay at the shore as long as you need to. Third, when it's early in the morning and late in the evening, you can see the reflection of the sun on the water surface, even with bad weather conditions. That means you can literally see a precise line on the water surface in color. Fourth, when you plant oak trees, they will load in earlier than anything else, so you should plant an oak tree next to your base. In case you get lost on the ocean, take a bottle with you. And now for my last tip for the ocean. If you really are afraid of going on the ocean, just make a road on the ocean. You can make it by placing wooden pieces in the water. They will not despawn, they will float, and you can see them even in the night because they also reflect the moonlight. They also jump when you have waves, and when you put them every few meters or so, you can get from one island to another with around one stack or maximum of 2 stacks. When it comes to the swamp, you can use the base techniques that you already learned to get around. Build roads with fires. The bonfires do not stop burning when it is raining, so they are made for the swamp. You also learn how to make them in the swamp. Do I have to say more? When you calibrate a build piece to find bone mass and you have to go to another island, it's best to recalibrate your build piece in a new crypt that is closer to the bone mass on another island. So you get a more precise information the closer you get to bone mass, until you finally reach the boss. When you have to run away in the swamp, for whatever reason, try to stay at the shores if possible. Also, when you made it this far in your run, you have most likely spent about 10 hours in the no map run now, and you will notice that your brain has adapted to the new playstyle now. The information in your brain is now far more accurate as in the beginning, and you will remember the slightest details like gug trees, burning fires, enemy spawn places, you know, these kind of information. Congratulations, you have basically learned how to get along without a map. But wait, there's more. When you need to find a mountain, there is another dimension that will come in handy for you. It is height. Maybe you have noticed that islands of different biomes do have different shapes when seen over a long distance. As the swamp is the most flat biome of all because it is 50% underwater, something similar goes for the mountain. It's by far the highest of the biomes and will literally stick out from all the other. You have to climb up on the mountain, go to the highest point, and then look around. Do you see any structures, any ruins? And then when you find them, go in and check for boss stones. The boss stone will eventually be in one of them, and then you find your way to Moda. That's about it. And you can see here in this video, from this peak alone, I can see 4 different ruins. That's the 3rd one, and here on the other side is the 4th one. So you go to the peak, you look down, and then you check all the places out. That's about it. The plains are also easy to navigate. There is no major obstacle in terms of navigation. You can wander around freely, seeing long distances And when it comes to finding the boss, you most likely don't even need a boss stone to see the arena from far away, as long as you're on the same island. I mean, if the boss is not on your island, the boss stones will tell you where to go. Calibrate your build pieces and venture to the next plains. By the way, the plains are the last biome that will be so fun, easy and forgiving to navigate. So enjoy it as long as you are able to. The mistlands are hard to navigate. I don't want to play it down. Even when you have practice without a map, you will get lost occasionally. The trick is, don't feel bad for it. It's normal. So, when it comes to mistlands, the base techniques still are your best shot at it. You want to make some sort of roads that you can hold onto when running around. There is a new torch that can never run out because it doesn't use fuel. It's the wisp torch. The torch is your best friend. You don't need a workbench to place it, and with the recent update from Iron Gate developers, the torches also don't get destroyed any longer by the enemies from the mistlands. Thanks! Developers, that was the right thing to do. Kudos. You will of course need a base in the mistlands for some farming, but besides that, there's not really a reason to have a permanent base in the mistlands. You can take a longship and just sail around the coastlines of the mistlands. This way you can land on a piece of land whenever you see something from the safe longship. Also, the Queen is most likely visible from the shore, so that's another reason to go just with the boat. There are a few basic rules though to get around easily with the boat. The weather is your biggest enemy here. Usually at night or right in the morning the weather is especially bad. So when you wake up in the morning, do some errands first and then go on a boat trip. Through the mid of the day the weather is most likely good and you can use that for your advantage. When you find a boss stone, remember that those stones have an accuracy of 22.5 degrees. That means if your designated direction is in between two snapping points of the build piece, that means the probability that the boss is further away is greater. And now for the last biome that's available for now, the Ashlands. This biome is not as hard to navigate as the mistlands, but it has some challenges to it that you might count in. First, there is a new effect that produces a distortion in the air. It's similar to what you know from the vendor force field. Same happens here, so that means it can happen that you don't walk in a straight line as usual because of that effect. Just keep a calibrated build piece on you if you venture far and you're good. Also, you can barely see Yggdrasil, so don't count on help from the sky in this biome. Second, stay on the shorelines. It's the best way to get around in the Ashlands. It also has the advantage that you can only get attacked from the land side. I don't count the Ashen combat chickens as real enemies, just so you know. Third, the fortresses create a green glow that will be visible from far away. This glow will get removed when you get to the bell fragment. So when you keep the bell fragment intact, you can also keep the green glow. Just saying. Fourth, the shield generators are highly visible. The blue color is not naturally occurring in the Ashlands, so that's the tool you should use to mark some important spots. And last but not least, the wisp torch is also blue and cheap to craft. The fuels don't run out and it's highly visible in the Ashlands, making the wisp torch your most valuable tool when you go inside the landmass. It's highly recommended. Keep in mind that the night is dangerous. I noticed that the Ashlands has the darkest night of all the biomes. You cannot see a thing without proper light sources, so keep that in mind. The Ashlands is not really a challenge in terms of navigation once you have beaten the mistlands. It's just the same techniques over and over again that you have to use, and you will beat the game without a map, no question. So the last things I have to say for this guide is that you have to be creative on how to navigate around certain areas, but the principles are always the same. You have to know where you are, and you have to, you know, go to new areas and find back to where you were. So that's about it. You will have to figure some things out by yourself. But with this video you got a lot of good tricks and tips, so make good use of them and have fun with your playthrough. Bye!